Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today we have some spoilers for Campaign 3 of Critical Role up to episode 98. Technically, you've already been spoiled if you looked at the thumbnail, but it's been 2 weeks, and I am accepting of the fact that I'm just going to get flayed no matter what I do, and I really want to talk about this, so we're talking about it today. So, spoilers. So that's right, we're finally talking about the return of Sam Riegel and his new character, Braius Doomseed. Yes, I said his name wrong during the recaps. Whatever, get over it. I have said his name correctly now. Moving on. But anyway, this is going to be a more relaxed video where there's no script whatsoever. I'm just literally going over things that I find interesting about the character, talking about him, and, getting excited for eventually seeing him again in the future once these downfall episodes sort of pass us by and we can finally return back to the Bell's Hells. So Braius Doomseed is a Minotaur who is a paladin slash bard and is a herald of Asmodeus, which I think is really cool and really fun, and we will talk about why I think that in a minute. But overall, he's just really cool. I love his design. I think that's really sick. He has a humanoid looking face, which is kind of weird. Normally when I think of Minotaurs, he's obviously got like the bull face going on, but I understand why they would want Braius to look like that as opposed to like a full on like bull face, because that'd be weird if they ever elect to animate Bell's Hells. So probably a good idea to have him have more of a humanoid face. Overall, though, I think he is awesomely designed. He is badass looking. He's really cool. He's quite possibly like, if you were to think of a paladin, his armor and like, just his stature is that of a paladin, which I find really, really cool. So overall, like design wise, I think Braius looks awesome, and I'm very sick, like very, very excited to like see animations of him from fans and eventually when they go to do Bell's Hells when they make their animated series. So that's really cool. And I'm really into that chest piece with the horns of Asmodeus on it, which I think is really, really cool and badass looking. Just overall, he's just really badass. The whole black and white motif he's got going for himself is really cool and really badass. So overall, design wise, dope character. So overall, his design, like I said, really cool. The thing that I'm having trouble pinpointing is like his personality. What is he about? Yes, we've only seen him briefly. He was there for 3/4 of episode 98, so it's kind of hard to like pinpoint his personality. But in that span of time, he did a bunch of different stuff that sort of caught me off guard, depending on like how you would like envision this kind of character, right? For me, when he was introduced and he was like hiding in the closet when that's when he was first introduced. He was hiding in his closet with his neck basically slit open after what happened to him and his group while they were sort of escorting Ludinus Deleth. So they all got attacked by Dominox and he hid in that closet, which is very cowardly of a paladin to do, right? So at first I was like, oh shit, this is gonna be like a chicken shit sort of character who, once the going gets tough, he runs away. But that didn't necessarily happen quite yet, and that still can't be ruled out. But overall, like afterwards, he was very brave. He was willing to fight with the rest of the group, and he was willing to stand up, even though he was injured already. He was willing to team up with them, and I think a part of that came from the fact that Tavon was there, or Tevin, however you want to say his stupid name. They said it like 4 different ways. I swear to God, but because he saw him, I think a bit more courage came to him because they are both followers of Asmodeus. One's a champion, one's a herald, but either way, uh, it was really cool. And he fanboyed out like super hard when Tevin was there, which I thought was hilarious. And I thought that was really cool. So on one hand, he seems to be some sort of coward who's willing to go hide in a closet when the going gets tough. And yes, I understand the joke of hiding in the closet. And then on the other hand, he's very brave and is willing to fanboy out in front of this guy and literally ask for his autograph. Not to mention the last bit of like his personality that I thought was kind of odd compared to the other aspects of him. Every single character except for Chetney got flirted with by Braius. Like literally, he asked every single one of them if they were single. Hi, are you single? Was something that was said a lot, which is funny as hell. And I think it's just another level of like Sam Riegel's trolling because every single character in the Bell's Hells has some sort of relationship going on. Obviously, Imogen and Laudna, Orym and Dorian are now a thing, and Fern and Ashton are somewhat a thing. So every single character, with the exception of Chetney, who didn't get flirted with at all, is a part of a relationship. And even then, you could theoretically say that Chetney is part of a relationship with Deanna. So every single member of the Bell's Hells are in a relationship, and he flirted with almost all of them, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. And I think that's really funny. So him saying, "How are you single?" is funny to me and or just are you single is funny to me, and I'm very excited to see where that goes. Like eventually he's going to realize that all of these characters are like, oh shit, they're already in a thing, which I think is like the perfect way for a character who's going to be introduced so late into the game to sort of integrate themselves in, be like, oh shit, well, these guys already have a place with each other, so I'm going to have to find my place with it. And I'm still curious exactly what his place is going to be, and there's a couple of ways that I can go. So I've seen a bunch of people curious about what, like, is going to happen with Braius. Like, is he going to become a fully fledged member of the Bells, or is he just going to be like a person who's there, like an ally, like the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? Because technically, Asmodeus should be a lot of people's enemy, but the fact that there's a god eater out there and he wants to align himself with other gods and work together, sort of like what's going to happen in Downfall when the gods all align to destroy it. But I think it's rather interesting that all of the gods are sort of working together now to, try to stop Predathos. So is this a case of a character who's only going to be working with people he normally wouldn't work with to sort of stop that from happening? Is this going to be one of those moments where a character is there to, is he going to be an Archon type? Is he going to be a character who's there on business and business only, or is he going to eventually sort of earn a relationship with everybody else? Personally, knowing Sam, and after watching him play four different characters in the past, I get the feeling he's going to try to develop some sort of friendship or relationship with all of the characters in the house. But at first glance, you wouldn't think so, right? Because he's just a herald of Asmodeus who initially lied about who he was initially, right? He's like, "Oh, I followed the Platinum Dragon." That's a lie, or it might not be a lie. He might have followed the Platinum Dragon in his youth, but we don't know, and that's the problem with sort of talking about this character as of this moment, because we don't know about Braius all that much yet, and I've only now just realized I'm gonna have to remake my character rankings video, like the PC rankings video, which is okay. That was only an hour long. I'll do it again, but anyway, I'm curious as to where exactly he's going to end up at the end of it all. Like, say they win, they defeat Predathos, does he just turn around and walk away from the rest of the group and be like, all right, it was fun? Or is there room for him to be a full fledged member and to actually sort of form a relationship? Do you think, that's the question, I guess. Do you think there's enough time to have him formulate a relationship with the members of the Bell's House? That's the question. Is he going to be able to integrate himself with the time remaining in Campaign 3? Do we think that there is enough time for him to become a beloved friend and character for us to all enjoy? I get the feeling he's going to become a beloved character pretty easily. Sam is able to do that, like, no problem. I instantly, was like, oh, this Taryon Darrington guy is fucking hilarious. And I instantly knew I was going to like him a lot. So I get the feeling this is going to end up being the same thing, just on a different scale. So now I kind of want to talk about his relationship to Asmodeus, which I'm very curious about, because it seems like he's trying to earn Asmodeus' like favor. It seems like when he was like after the fight, he asked Tevin if he could like put in a good word for the King of Lies, or that was during the fight, but he really wants a good word to be thrown in for Asmodeus, which I think is rather interesting, and it makes me curious about what the relationship with him is. Clearly, he gets some powers from him, as I'm sure the rest of the group he joined up the Ruby Vanguard with, but I'm very curious as to what the relationship is. Is it more like a traditional sort of paladin relationship where there's not much communication, just like, you were my follower, so I grant you some power? Kind of like, I guess, kind of like how Ford was with his paladinness, where he wasn't like directly communicating with the Wild Mother, just more so like she was a guiding path. I could see that being the case, because it doesn't seem like as of right now that Braius communicates with Asmodeus like FCG did. And that's kind of interesting, because it's very clear that FCG wanted a guiding path to sort of push them forward in life and to sort of have someone guide them and say, hey, this is the right direction to go. Whereas it seems like Braius, in my opinion, isn't looking for that, which is kind of funny based on how, like, Minotaurs are. Like, they're great at knowing their direction they're going in. They're great at navigating, which I think is kind of funny. But it's interesting because he seems to know where he wants to go. He wants to end up being a champion of Asmodeus, which I think is rather interesting. It's a nice little, like, sort of, I don't want to say parallel of FCG and him, but it's something that, like, the two of them have in common. They're looking to get to an end goal, and they're looking through divinity to find it, which I think is kind of cool and kind of interesting. And I'm very excited to see exactly what this character does throughout the campaign, because there's not much time left, I would imagine. I would wager we're going to hit the 140 mark like we did with campaign 2. So I'm kind of curious as to how far. Granted, that's like another year plus of Critical Role or of campaign 3. So very curious as to what his relationship is with Asmodeus. So the last thing I sort of want to talk about is like expectations of a character, which is funny, right? Because we all had expectations. I made like 3 or 4 separate videos specifically talking about what I thought the character was going to be when he showed up, what I thought this character would be. I ran through a bunch of different stuff in my mind. I don't even know if I like touched on races all that much, but I definitely hit classes a lot. I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, we want another FCG type character to show up, cleric, or not necessarily cleric, but like they wanted another Aorton. It made sense because they were an Aor, and a lot of people wanted it to be an Aorian who was like time displaced. A lot of people wanted this character to be a Vanguard member who was like defecting from the Vanguard, which kind of what ended up happening. But like there was a bunch of different like fan theories about what it could be. People were like, it's just straight up going to be FCG. They're going to revive FCG. There's a machine in Aor that can revive him. And I haven't necessarily seen people like being upset about this character. Granted, it's been 2 weeks, so it's been a minute since it's been out of my mind. But at the same time, with that being said, I think this was a good sort of compromise for a lot of things, right? Like this isn't a character that we all expected to happen. A lot of people wanted another small character, but that's a Liam thing. Liam sort of picks out his first character. For those who don't know, Liam picks out the first character that Sam has in every campaign. He picked out Scanlan, he picked out Veth, and he picked out FCG. Technically, he didn't pick out Veth, he picked out Not, but same thing, same character. So realistically, a lot of people were like, oh, he's going to play another small character. But I always wanted to point out the fact that the only replacement character that Sam ever played was Taryon Darrington, a human and a regular sized character. So that isn't necessarily something that Sam does. That's a Liam thing where he picks small characters for Sam to play, which I think is funny and cool. But I always loved the idea, and a couple other people loved the idea of, and I saw it a couple times actually, of him playing a massive character, something massive, and he'd have like a small cup. And I feel like Braius is that. I don't know if he whipped out like a cup for him to drink from yet in the live show. He might have. I just didn't pay attention to that specifically. But I think it'd be really funny if, because he is a Minotaur and he is large, like he's massive, he's muscular. He's only 6'4", but which was weird. And then I had to look into it. The player race for Minotaur does say like the average is 6 foot, which feels small for a Minotaur, but I guess player Minotaurs are smaller than the monster because they have to be a medium size, which, you know, depending on who you are, you might like or you might not like. But the expectation of all of the fan theories that I've seen and all that sort of stuff compared to what we got, I'm so happy with what we got. I think this character is going to be fun. I like that he has a connection to a god. I like that I got part of the class correct. And speaking of the class, I haven't really gone into that much. We don't know what type of oath he took for Paladin. So he is, as of right now, it's also unclear the exact levels. He is level 14, which is one above the rest of the cast, which I imagine when we come back from the break from Downfall, they'll all be level 14. But what's funny about it to me is that we don't know the breakdown. The only thing we do know about his bard class is that it seems to be the Bard of Tragedy, like the College of Tragedy Bard, which makes sense, especially if you're going to be a betrayer god follower, that there's some tragedy in your life. And I'm very curious as to what the backstory for this character is going to be, which is probably the most interesting part about Braius, that he's a complete anomaly 100 episodes deep into a campaign, which I think is really fun. But another thing that's really interesting is we don't know the oath. It seems to be between 3, I think. Like a bunch of people have come to the conclusion that it's either between the Watcher, the Oath of the Watcher, Oath of the Ancients, which I think makes no sense. But like story reason wise, Ancients doesn't make sense to me because like when I think of ancients, it's nature first of all, which would be more like Titan, or it's some sort of like homebrew class. It could be ancients because technically Asmodeus is ancient, but I don't know. That just doesn't sit right with me that he could potentially be like an ancient's oath. That doesn't sit right with me totally. But yeah, we don't even know the breakdown yet of like what the classes are. It's theorized he is at least 10 levels into Paladin, and then either 3 or 4 levels in Bard, which would mean if he's 3 levels in Bard, he's 11 in Paladin. But we don't know. We don't know anything yet. And because Critical Role stats isn't around anymore, we probably won't get a confirmation until we see him fight a couple of times. So, yeah, I think it's interesting that he's either Oath of the Ancients, Oath of the Watchers, or some sort of homebrew, which honestly makes more sense to me that he is some sort of homebrew. But who knows? I'm very excited to see exactly what this character is eventually. But yeah, the expectation of this character was blown out of the water for me. I'm very happy with what Braius is as of right now because he's funny to me. I just enjoy this character. We've only seen him briefly, and I already know that he's like he's gonna steal a lot of like slots. Like he's gonna jump a lot of slots in the my favorite characters ranking video that I'll have to update now after this campaign. So that's fun, and I'm very excited looking to doing that again. But yeah, overall, I'm very excited for this character. Very, very happy that this is what we got for the character coming back. So yeah, I'm not upset that we didn't get any of the cool theories like the Aeori or the Aeorians coming back or whatever, like the time displaced Aeorian. Or I am kind of disappointed it's not like a Ryloran or something like that, right? A lot of people wanted some sort of Ruidus born race. I keep saying Ruidus born race, but like a race that's from Ruidus, the moon. I think some people wanted that, but I'm very excited. I think Minotaur has been something that has been on Sam's mind since campaign 2, since Not first ran into a Minotaur and was like super like hot for the Minotaur. So definitely should have predicted that. Honestly, that's something that he's probably been thinking about for a long time. So kind of funny that this is happening now. But anyway, yeah, that's probably going to be the video. Probably wild and chaotic as I didn't script a single bit of this out, and I just wanted to let my thoughts on the character flow. And when things came to mind, I just let it come out. This is probably the first video I've done that in a while where I've just gone and spoke without any sort of guide on what I was saying. And I'm sure some of you can tell. But anyway, I will see you guys on Tuesday for whatever video I make next. I'll see you then. Peace.